What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank and Sebastian Van Halen Fitzgerald IV. And today we're just going to address the Donald Trump and his insinuation that there's mass Christian killings in Nigeria. As an African American who goes back and forth from America to Nigeria, who's advocating for Nigeria for African Americans to repatriate to as an option, and to advocate for African Americans to learn their history, the real roots of their history, which is all the kingdoms and tribes of Nigeria. And it's all there for you to learn, and your language, everything they stole from you is there in Nigeria. Now, Nigeria is the up-and-coming superpower on the globe. One of those powers that's going to be a polar power on the world. We're going to a multipolar world, right? Meaning multiple points of power. It may not look like it right now, obviously, right, as things are molding and changing, but in the future Nigeria will be a superpower, right? It already has a robust military industrial complex. It already has a ever-growing gas industry and one of the world's biggest refinery. It already has an ever-growing military that's now building in-house weapons, and including drones, which just became in operation this year and is helping to defeat Boko Haram in the north. Okay, so as far as Nigeria is concerned, it is the homeland of African Americans for the most part. The people there are our people. DNA, historical, everything points that direction. All documents point that direction. And that country and those people are soon to be, as they gather themselves together, as they get their governments together, as they fight, different factions fight for political power control, and as they try to eliminate corruption the best way they can, which we know is hard in this world to do stuff like that, right? As they're doing all of that, it's going to take some time. So if you don't recognize it's happening now, it is in fact happening, right? But they're working on their stuff in-house, right? But America's goal has always been to keep Nigeria down. That's why we haven't defeated the Boko Haram in the north. It's because Boko Haram consists of Fulanis, right, who moved inwards from to the Western African countries from northern central Africa in that desert. So the same people that's given Boko Haram, that's given Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, the same people that's giving them issues, those Islamic jihadists in the north, are the same ones that's given Nigeria and their issues, and their people in the north issues too. The caliphate that we see in the north of Nigeria is the same caliphate that came down and destroyed our great African traditional empires from the north, while the Europeans came from the sea in the south and smushed us together and destroyed our kingdoms. These are the very same Africans, the Fulanis, who are the ones who are really Arab adjacent, one of the first Arab adjacent Africans, who consist of lots of Arabs and, like I said, Arab adjacent Africans who sold a lot of our ancestors into the transatlantic slave trade. These are the main raiders, pillagers and plunderers of West Africa and the destroyers of our civilization. These Fulanis, right? And the Hausa states are being infested by the Fulanis because the Hausas are nomadic Muslims from the north. Hausa states were a very grand city-state area. Think about Greek, you know, you got the Greeks and you got the great Greek city-states. Well, the Hausa was like that in the north. Big, huge, very rich groups of Africans who got converted to Islam due to the Islamic religious invasion of West Africa due to trade routes, and it became a business language and whatnot, a business religion and all that stuff. So, you know, but what's happening is there's no Christian genocide. That's not happening. There's no Christians and Muslims in Nigeria live very good together. It's not an issue. They don't have an issue. Christians and Muslims live in harmony in Nigeria. The north is different because they have an old caliphate, a Western-backed sponsored, hear what I said, a Western-backed sponsored terrorist organizations, Western-backed trained sponsored terrorist organizations who are trained by the British, trained by the French, trained by Americans to disrupt certain geographical locations, because the NGOs and the multinational corporations that pay these senators and presidents to push their agendas that will benefit their corporations, because the areas that you see these so-called terrorist attacks happen are high in minerals and all kinds of gold and all kinds of things. So they disrupt, utilizing the Western-backed governments. They disrupt these areas like they do in Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger. They're Western-backed Muslim terrorists, right? Buffer class Muslim extremists are used to attack, disrupt, and genocide certain areas to clear it out so that white corporations can come in and scoop up the resources under the ground once the villages have been taken and once people's traditional lands have been taken. Also, Fulanis, because the Great Chadian lake has dried up and has gotten smaller, has started to move into the west, and they're nomadic. Nomadic people carry their cows, right? And nomadic people kind of live like they were still in the 15th century or whatever, right? And they're running into people who are farmers. So there's attacks between farmers and nomadic people, like has always been throughout history, because the farmer's livelihood and the agriculturalist livelihood is obviously their crops, and the livelihood of a pastoralist, someone who raises cattle, they are they need the ground, the free earth movements. They don't recognize lines, all of that to feed their cows. That's their priority. So they bump heads. But the only reason sometimes Christians do get attacked up there is because they're up there in the particular area. The rest of Nigeria doesn't have that problem. That's not the problem in Nigeria. Tribalism, which is really different African kingdoms and nations having to reckon the fact that they're gonna have to work together economically and socially in order for all of them to prosper. And there's a lot of history there, right? We're talking about, when you say tribes, don't belittle it by thinking about small groups of people who just can't get along. We're talking about great nations. Like when you think about it, think about Germany, France, England, Russia. We talk about like that, on that level. So when you say tribes, you're saying nations, countries, kingdoms. All right. So don't have them have a picture in your head of just a bunch of black people who can't get their shit together, and they're these small, insignificant tribes. These tribes we're talking about are kingdoms and nations who are now forced to be a one country due to shared hardship. So that's what that is. All right, but yeah, there's no goddamn Christian massacres. None of that shit's happening. All right. There's more violence in America per year, more people dying in America by far than there is in Nigeria. Even though it is tragedies when these white Western sponsored and multinational corporation sponsored terrorist organizations attack innocent villages for coins with dead presidents, and then innocent people got to die. But the majority of people who get attacked in Nigeria are Muslims. It's Muslims and Muslims. It's just Muslims hurting Muslims. Most terrorists, 99% of their victims are Muslims. It's just Muslims. Mostly all just Muslims killing other Muslims in the name of Allah and in the name of that coin. Anyway, that's all I got to say. I hope I cleared that up. Don't listen to anybody. A lot of people just jumping on this story, don't know what they're talking about. Take it from me, somebody who operates in Nigeria. I'm a real chief in Nigeria. I'm plugged in to the politics. I'm plugged into the communities. None of that shit's happening. It's all lies. They just want to continue to smear Nigeria as Nigeria becomes a ever-growing economic threat and soon-to-be military threat to the West. Anyway, that's all I got to say. It's Afro Think Tank, and this is Sebastian Fitzgerald Van Halen the Fourth. We're out. Peace.
Ain't nobody trying to argue with you all damn day, bro. Shut the fuck up. Damn.
Free Sudan, boycott diamonds and gold. Free Sudan, boycott diamonds and gold. We most definitely cannot forget about the people of Sudan.
Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.